Hello everyone, I'm Exodia, and today we'll be doing the second episode of our Roblox beginner scripting tutorial series. Today we'll be covering the parameters of functions and Instance.new. One thing I'd like to get out of the way before we jump right into it is how often will I be uploading these tutorial videos, because I don't believe I talked about that in the first one. I will be uploading these every Wednesday and Sunday. Today, though, I'm recording the video one day in advance, as I likely won't have the time to do it tomorrow, but yeah, anyways, so we have our script from the last video, which is the first episode. I have it disabled so it doesn't interfere with anything in today's session, but we're gonna make a new script in server script service, and I'm gonna call this beginner series episode 2. You can call it whatever you want. But yeah, today we're talking about the parameters of functions. Now, we know that you can make a function by typing local function, and then you can call it whatever you want. So for this sake, I'm going to call it my function. Then you put an open close parentheses, and you drop a line, and then your end will pop up, and you can put all your code inside your function. However, inside these parentheses, you can put things in there and use them in your code to do stuff. So for example, if I had a part, let's say I want to get the base plate equals workspace.base plate, then what we can do is when we call the function my function, inside the parentheses we can put the base plate as a parameter, and then inside our local function, inside the parentheses here, we could put the base plate. We're kind of like feeding the parameter into the function when we insert it here. So then we have to have it here. And then what we can do in our function now is we can use this base plate and we can do things to it. Like for example, we could change the color. So baseplate.color, or let's change the name of it. Baseplate.name equals, we will call this square, just for the sake of simplicity. And then if we look inside of our workspace, as you can see, the base plate's name was changed to square. Now you can do many things with parameters, and they're very useful. Say you want to make a round-based game where you have a function for a winner and you want to give that winner a certain amount of money because they won the game. Then you could make a function, local function winner, and then you could put their reward, and then we can also define a variable for local prize money, and then we will set this to 25, and then here we can do give the player the money, and then but when you call the winner function, you could put this prize money as the parameter. And then, so for parameters, one thing also I should actually, I don't mean to like interject my thought there, but one thing about parameters is that as long as you insert it here, you can call it whatever you want in your functions, so you could use it. So you could put the prize money in as your parameter when you're calling the function, but you could maybe call it hot dog, and this will still be the 25. I'd suggest that you I'd suggest you call it something relevant to the script and relevant to what it's supposed to do. So for example, the prize money, when you feed that as a parameter, I'd make it a reward in your function, and then you can do whatever you want with the reward in that function. But yeah, that's how you can use parameters. One thing also I should cover is that you can actually have multiple parameters local function my function. You can have an infinite amount of parameters. So my function, then we'll just do some examples. One, we'll do a number, a string, and a true or false value. This is a string and true. So then we'll call this number string boolean. We'll call this string value. Then we can print number string value and boolean. This is called boolean because it is a bool value or a boolean value, which is a true or false value, in case you were confused of why I was writing boolean. But yeah, we're printing and we're separating each different thing that we're printing by comma, and it'll print it all in one line. So as you can see, it worked. It seems a little jumbled because we're printing it all in the same line, which probably isn't the best thing that you're going to want to do. But yeah, having multiple parameters, or just using parameters in general, are really useful when you're making your game, because it allows you to access things inside of that function that maybe you can't access otherwise. So let's say, one thing about functions is that, let's say we have a function, my function, and we define a variable inside this function. We cannot edit this variable outside of the function. It was declared inside of it. So if we want to access it inside of another function, we'll do my other function. If we want to access this inside of another function, we are not able to do so. So what we can do instead is we can call that other function. We should probably have this above so that the call will work. We can call my other function, and then put hot dog as the parameter, and then we'll have hot dog here, and then we can print out hot dog, and then we'll have this trigger when the player joins, which to do that we do game.players.playerAdded::connect. What this does is every time a player joins the game, this function will fire, and inside of this function you could have the parameter as player, and this can be used to get the player when they join. So if you wanted to maybe make a leaderboard like you see in games, that would be how you do so. But for now, we are just going to call my function here, and then we are going to test it. As you can see, we get 5 in the output printed out. Of course, that probably is an inefficient way of printing the value out, but for the sake of demonstration, we're printing it. This would be normally like, maybe you'd use this as a speed or something, and you wanted to make an object here, which actually, speaking of making objects, we can segue straight into Instance.new. So Instance.new is something built into Roblox Studio, and so how you do it is you write Instance.new. You could usually autofill when you write it, and then you do an open close parenthesis, and what you'll find is a humongous list of items. This will have a lot of things, a lot of instances or objects. For example, this base plate is a part, which is an instance or an object. So what we can do some open closed quotations, and then we can do a part. Now what this does is this creates a new part object, just like the base plate. The default size would be, if you were to make a new part, it would look like this. This is what happens when you create a new part. The position would be set at the origin when you're creating it with Instance.new. But let's set this to a variable. So what we can do, we can combine what we've learned, and we could do local part. We can make a variable for the part, and it could be Instance.new part. And then what we can do is we can either set the part dot parent, which doing this would basically set it inside the workspace if we wanted to. We could set it inside anything in here. For now, we'll set it inside the workspace so we can see it. And before we do that, we're going to set part dot position to a vector3 value. Vector3.new 0, 5, 0. We're just setting the position to something simple. Vectors I will cover a lot later on, but for now you can just copy what I have. Then we'll test this. So as you can see, our part was created, and it's inside of the workspace. Now, we can also set things like the anchored value, part dot anchored equals false, for example. We could set the size, part dot size, which this would have to be a vector3 value. Because it's on 3 axes, x, y, and z, so we'll set this to 2, 2, 2. And then if we test this, oh, we have an error. That is all right. It appears it appears that, oh wait, that's what happened. I didn't do vector3.new. It thought I was making a table, which we have not covered yet. But so that's always important when you do something like you're making a new value. You have to do vector3.new, instance.new. That was my bad. I forgot to do that right there. And don't be alarmed or don't be discouraged when you get errors. That happens all the time. And sometimes it's just, you just have to go back and find what's causing the problem. But as you can see, we made our part. We can push it around because it's not anchored, and it's a cube. So yeah, Instance.new is really useful because you can use it to make a lot of parts for your game. Honestly, you can make like anything inside of Studio. For example, you can make a custom particle effect if you wanted, because there is a bunch of effects. Like, for example, you can make an explosion, you can make any of these. Really useful to use in your scripts. So, takeaways from today would be that function parameters in Instance.new, you can use that to kind of like, you can get things with the function parameters. You can communicate information inside of your script between functions so that you can use them whenever, and it's a really useful idea, like a really useful topic. And then Instance.new allows you to create things so you can manipulate them or create them so you can do whatever you want with them in your game. Maybe you want to make a new platform, so for example, if a player presses a button, then you create an object. But yeah, those are what we're covering today. If there's any help you need, just let me know in the comments, and I will help you out the best I can. But yeah, the next video will be on Saturday, unless you guys have an idea for a topic you'd like to see me make a tutorial on. I'll usually make those videos not on Wednesday or Sunday. They'll just be like external topics that I make a video on, so I can help you guys out. But yeah, that's it.